Each single leaf, pulled or pushed by dozens of toiling insects, was borne straight to the edge of the ditch. Even as Macbeth watched the approach of Birnam Wood in the hands of his enemies, Lady Leiningen saw the tamarind wood move nearer and nearer in the mandibles of the ants. Unlike the Fay Scott, however, she did not lose her nerve. No witches had prophesied her doom, and if they had, she would have slept just as soundly. All the same, she was forced to admit to herself that the situation was far more ominous than that of the day before. She had thought it impossible for the ants to build rafts for themselves. Well, here they were, coming in thousands, more than enough to bridge the ditch. Leaves after leaves rustled down the slope into the water, where the current drew them away from the bank and carried them into midstream. And every single leaf carried several ants. This time the farmer did not trust to the alacrity of her messengers. She galloped away, leaning from her saddle and yelling orders as she rushed past outpost after outpost. Bring petrol pumps to the southwest front. Issue spades to every man along the line facing the wood. And arrived at the eastern and southern sections, she dispatched every man except the observation posts to the menaced west. Then, as she rode past the stretch where the ants had failed to cross the day before, she witnessed a brief but impressive scene. Down the slope of the distant hill there came towards her a singular being, writhing rather than running, an animal-like blackened statue with shapeless head and 4 quivering feet that knuckled under almost ceaselessly. When the creature reached the far bank of the ditch and collapsed opposite Lady Leiningen, she recognized it as a pampas stag, covered over and over with ants. It had strayed near the zone of the army. As usual, they had attacked its eyes first. Blinded, it had reeled in the madness of hideous torment straight into the ranks of its persecutors. And now the beast swayed to and fro in its death agony. With a shot from her rifle, Lady Leiningen put it out of its misery. Then she pulled out her watch. She hadn't a second to lose. But for life itself, she could not have denied her curiosity, the satisfaction of knowing how long the ants would take, for personal reasons, so to speak. After 6 minutes, the white, polished bones alone remained. That's how she herself would look before you can... Lady Leiningen spat once and put spurs to her horse. The sporting zest with which the excitement of the novel contest had inspired her the day before had now vanished. In its place was a cold and violent purpose. She would send these vermin back to the hell where they belonged, somehow, anyhow. Yes, but how was indeed the question. As things stood at present, it looked as if the devils would raise her and her men from the earth instead. She had underestimated the might of the enemy. She really would have to bestir herself if she hoped to outwit them. The biggest danger now, she decided, was the point where the western section of the ditch curved southwards. And arrived there, she found her worst expectations justified. The very power of the current had huddled the leaves and their crews of ants so close together at the bend that the bridge was almost ready. True, streams of petrol and clumps of earth still prevented a landing, but the number of floating leaves was increasing ever more swiftly. It could not be long now before a stretch of water a mile in length was decked by a green pontoon over which the ants could rush in millions. Lady Leiningen galloped to the weir. The damming of the river was controlled by a wheel on its bank. The planter ordered the man at the wheel first to lower the water in the ditch, almost to vanishing point. Next, to wait a moment, then suddenly to let the river in again. This maneuver of lowering and raising the surface, of decreasing and then increasing the flow of water through the ditch, was to be repeated over and over again until further notice. This tactic was at first successful. The water in the ditch sank, and with it the film of leaves. The green fleet nearly reached the bed, and the troops on the far bank swarmed down the slope to it. Then a violent flow of water at the original depth raced through the ditch, overwhelming leaves and ants and sweeping them along. This intermittent rapid flushing prevented just in time the almost completed fording of the ditch. But it also flung here and there squads of the enemy vanguard simultaneously up the inner bank. These seemed to know their duty only too well and lost no time accomplishing it. The air rang with the curses of bitten Indians. They had removed their shirts and pants to detect the quicker the upwards hastening insects. When they saw one, they crushed it. And fortunately, the onslaught as yet was only by skirmishes. Again and again, the water sank and rose, carrying leaves and drowned ants away with it. It lowered once more nearly to its bed. But this time, the exhausted defenders waited in vain for the flush of destruction. Lady Leiningen sensed disaster. Something must have gone wrong with the machinery of the dam. Then, a sweating peon tore up to her. "They're over!"